Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 132. Today we want to give you guys the same experience that we do every time we do these shows, which is we have a topic that we discuss for the first maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and it's something that we think is going to help you guys become a better player, take your skill to the next level, and just be all around something that we hope will really help you guys in your game. So what we're going to do is have that. And while we're discussing that, you guys are going to send us your questions, and we will do our best after we're finished with the topic to answer those questions, okay? So our topic for today is, and if you guys want to send those questions in, make sure that you are sending them to our comments here in the chat on this video, or you can send them to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Google+, Instagram, Snapchat, where we do a lot of behind the scenes stuff for you guys and answer questions, and pretty much anywhere we are Shot Science. Subscribe to us on YouTube and all that too. Okay, so let's get into our chat for today, and our topic is basketball tryouts tips and tricks, because we know a lot of you guys are having your tryouts here either right now or soon, and we want to make sure that we kind of address that for you and give you some feedback on what you can do in this short period of time to kind of maximize your luck in making the team.
Yeah, how true.
But we'll start off first by saying that in general, if you want to make the basketball team, you need to do the long-term stuff, which is developing your skills, working on your game, getting game experience. Those are probably the most important things to work on long-term.
Right.
Most of the stuff that we're going to talk about right now is the short-term stuff, because you guys are in kind of the crunch period, and we want to make sure that you have a little information on what to do.
Right.
Okay, so what are some things people can do?
Well, this is the time of year right now where most teams in middle school, maybe even grammar school, middle school, high school, are beginning to select teams for this upcoming season. And so the things that are really important for you is to make sure that when you go into the workout, that you're not trying to go in and be something that you're not.
Right.
One thing that we often talk about is we call it the Drupal Dance. And the Drupal Dance is that situation where you take and you have through the legs, behind the back, through the legs again, and you don't go anyplace.
It's where you're putting together your own and one mixtape.
Yeah, we could put you in a circle that was a 2-foot diameter, and you don't go anyplace, but you go all this shuck and jive. That doesn't really cut it when it comes to making a team as far as coaches are concerned. Coaches are concerned in what you can do with the basketball to get someplace or to escape difficulty. And so those are really important things for you to kind of consider, is that ball skills are really important in basketball, and coaches are looking for those. One of the things that usually is a real downer for people when it comes to making the team is they have no weak hand. In other words, let's say you're a right-hander as your dominant hand, and your non-dominant hand is left, and you can't do anything with that left hand to be effective. Maybe you bounce the ball and pick it up, okay? But they're looking for people who can put the ball on the floor and go someplace, escape difficulty. Those are important skills for you to have when you go to those tryouts.
Well, I think that the key on this is that if you're doing anything, you need to do it with purpose, and there needs to be a certain level of execution.
Yeah.
One thing you should never do is play above your ability, or try to play above your ability. Yeah. And you see that all the time in tryouts when guys are trying to do, these moves or double clutch things, or throwing the ball up from way too far away, whatever that is. If you are doing that, that's a great way to lose your spot on the team. Right. The coach is never going to want to pick the guy that is launching the 3-pointer from 30 feet and he's not making it.
Yeah, right.
It's fine if you're shooting mid-range shots, or you're taking close shots and those are going for you, because if you are able to execute, the coach is going to see that and he's going to want that player on the team. Right. If you are doing stuff that is outside of your abilities, outside of your range, that's not what they want to deal with.
Exactly.
So don't be the guy that just goes out there and he's launching the long 3, or that's driving in there and throwing up circus shots. That is a sure way to get bounced real quick.
Absolutely.
And the other thing too is that coaches are not into the show off street ball kind of stuff. Yeah. That is not going to help them and their team. street ball is kind of like an entertainment branch of basketball, and it's fine and it's great and we love it and we have friends that do it. So we're not cutting that down, but it doesn't really have its place in competitive basketball, and coaches see that. And so they don't want you to go out there and do all of your street ball maneuvers out on the court, especially during tryouts, but definitely not during a game. That's why you don't see it in the NBA or in the college ranks. They just don't do that. So you have to go out there. It's not about you. It's about execution and making sure that you are doing the things that you need to do.
Exactly right. And the other thing that's really important is making sure that when you are playing that you are not what's the word I'm searching for, is that you're not too
Well, what are you talking about?
well, hang on a second. That you don't let your emotions get involved in what you're doing. Oftentimes, I see players
pouting and all that.
Well, they pout. The shot doesn't go in. They get fouled and they start to pout. That's a sure sign right there that they're going to be looking at you as somebody they don't want on the team. And so you don't want to get into that pouty mode, feeling sorry for yourself because you turned the ball over, you didn't make a shot. None of that really is a place for tryouts. What you want to do is you want to show your best possible side. And if your best game, and the other thing kind of goes along with that too, is that go there with the idea that you're going to be a basketball player. You're not going to go there and be a post, or you're going to be a wing, or you're going to be a point. You're going to go there and be a basketball player first. Go ahead.
You're jumping ahead, but I would just say also, the thing about pouting and kind of being a poor sport and all that.
Sure.
If you do that, that is a sure way to get cut.
Yeah.
As soon as a coach sees a kid with a bad attitude, they are just going to want to bounce a kid. Doesn't matter if they are one of the more skilled or if they're the most talented. Coaches don't want to deal with that.
Nope.
So what you have to do in that situation is just go out there and play. If you miss a shot, let it go.
Yeah.
Just play hard and do what you can do, and a coach will take that into account. If they see you and maybe things aren't falling for you that day or the next day or whatever, they will look at that and they'll say, oh, well, that guy plays hard. And the other thing is that even though things aren't really going his way right now, he's still got a great attitude. I want that guy on the team.
Yeah.
But if you go out there and you're just like, oh, God, I can't believe I missed that, or you're yelling at people or whatever it is, poor sports, bad attitudes, jerks, they don't make teams.
Yeah.
And so it's not in your best interest to come in with any kind of attitude. You need to let it all go.
Well, that's not true. Come in with a great attitude, not a negative attitude. The other thing that's really important too is that coaches are looking for players who play with effort. And so you may ask, well, what is effort? I play hard. I play with a lot of effort. Well, here's a defining moment, I think, for what effort is all about. I've seen so much of this and seen a lot of it that is not so good. But the thing that's really important, if there is a loose ball on the floor, the guy that is going after that like a heat-seeking missile, and he's on the floor and he's banging his elbows and banging his knees to gain control of the basketball for his team, those are the guys I want to play for me. The guys who run over, bend over, and then try to reach down and pick it up, they're never going to get control of the ball, or not very often anyway. And those are the kind of guys that I'm not looking for. I want somebody who's going to come out and just really play hard in those situations. The other thing is, not enough players really think about how important defense is in the game of basketball. It's not the most important thing, but it is really important for you to be successful as a player and for your team to be successful. And defense is all about effort and moving your feet and just being super aggressive without getting yourself into foul difficulty. But effort is probably the premier thing that I look at when I see players come out. Even if somebody's a little lacking in some skills, we can teach them some of those skills.
Yeah.
But effort, that's hard to teach guys because they don't understand it.
So here's the things that count in effort.
Yeah.
The guys that are diving on the ground for a ball, or guys or girls that are diving on the ball or diving on the ground for the ball. The guys that are hustling and they're running on both ends of the floor.
Right.
The people that are going for rebounds and they're boxing out. The ones that are communicating with their teammates and telling everybody what's going on and all that stuff. The people that are on defense and they're actually down in a defensive stance. If you're standing straight leg, lock kneed, That's not showing any effort.
Right.
So you want to be down in that stance, and you want to be intense and ready to move at any moment. You're running the fast break on both sides of the court. If the coach pulls you out of the game, you hustle back to the bench and you sit down, no pouting. All of those things are going to show the coach that you want to be there, because effort is not something that you can really teach somebody. It's something that they have to flip the switch on for themselves.
That's true.
And a coach does not want to have to do that. So you have to be the person that makes it happen.
Yeah.
And that can really go a long way. I mean, I've been on teams where, this kid that really had no chance of making the basketball team gets brought on the team as maybe one of the few, last few guys that makes the team, because they put so much effort in, and the coach is going to want that person there maybe purely for practice, or for cheering on the guys when they're on the court, and for going in there and getting some time when things are looking a little bit secure.
Yeah.
But even if you are one of those guys that gets in on that position, you can work your way up until you are an actual regular player too. So effort is a huge deal.
Well, another thing that's really a huge deal too is the fact that you show initiative to the coach and other players, for that matter. Initiative goes like this. The coach says, okay, I want all of you people down here at this basket, post haste, let's go. You're the first guy there.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for the other players and the coach to arrive. And the guy's saying, well, okay.
Or they don't have to ask you twice.
Yeah, they don't have to ask you twice. And you're really kind of in their mind because of that.
Or you get there and you're like, hey, let's go, guys, hurry up, let's go. And you're getting the team together. I mean, that's taking it to the next level, which is leadership, which is another huge thing.
Exactly, and that is showing some initiative to take charge, and that you're into what the coach is talking about. One of the other things that is a real downer for a coach, whether you're playing on a team or you're trying to make a team, is that the coach is talking and you're talking to your buddy over here. You're nudging him and give him a little extra, and you're not really focusing on what the coach is talking about. And for me, I would stop right there, and I would make an issue with you guys. If you're not going to listen, there's the door. Otherwise, let's be quiet and listen and see if you can't learn something here about what we want to get done.
Because it's not your time. It's the team's time.
Yeah.
And the coach is the leader of the team.
Yeah.
But like we were saying, leadership is a huge deal in all of this.
Yeah.
If you can show some kind of leadership qualities, a coach is going to jump all over that, because one of the things that you can really help out with and give yourself a really good chance of making the team, or just being a major part of the team, is by showing leadership skills, because it kind of makes the coach's job easier.
Yeah, it does.
Because coaches don't like when they have to deal with all these extraneous things that make it harder for them. Like if people are goofing around, or if they have to say things 3 or 4 times before they get done, or if they have to tell everybody specifically things that should already happen no matter what, like go pick up all the balls and put them away after practice, or whatever it is. Like if you're showing leadership and you're hustling to the spot, you're getting your teammates ready to go, maybe you're taking the initiative and getting things started before practice even starts, or whatever it is, you're the guy that's kind of stepping up.
Yeah.
And that's super important.
Yeah. One of the things that is I find particularly disorienting for me as a coach is this. If I'm trying to explain something to a group of people who are either on my team or they're trying to make my team, and I'm trying to explain something, and over here I've got some guy who's bouncing the basketball.
Yeah.
Or if he has a basketball and he's tossing it from hand to hand and then once in a while dribble, that is very disorienting. And it's not only disorienting to the coach, but it also draws the attention of other players. And their attention goes to what's going on over here rather than focusing on what the coach is trying to say. And so don't be a disturbance in that regard either.
Yeah. Okay, so quick tangent on that. It used to be like when I know for you, but I know when I went to basketball camps and stuff as a kid, those camps were essentially like boot camp for us, and they were intense. And we would have top college coaches come and talk to us. We would be working with the college players, and it was like you're up at this time in the morning and you don't go to sleep until late at night, and they work you really hard and you're doing all these physical things. But one thing that if you ever bounce the ball when some coach or the counselor was talking, or if you were futzing around or whatever, you would be in deep crap and you would be running laps for hours, if not doing push-ups and all these other things. And, it seems like now, today, maybe kids aren't going to those kind of camps or anything anymore, or I don't know what the deal is, but, it seems like people are not having the same level of respect that they should. Yep. If you want to separate yourself from those kind of people and be the guy that's holding the ball, or, they used to make us hold it on our hip and stand still, be that person. Yep. Show attention. That's a really important part of like respect too. Okay. And then one of the things you brought up earlier was, don't go in thinking that you know your position on the team or your place on the team.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people go in saying, well, I'm a point guard, so I'm trying out to be a point guard. Or I'm going to be the post player, and I'm going to be the starting so-and-so. It's like you don't have any control over that. The coach is the person that makes that call because they're trying to fit all the pieces of the team together. So you need to step back, just look at yourself as a basketball player. And this is how we tell people to address their training and stuff as well, is that you should come in as a very versatile player anyways, because if you're able to do everything, then you can play anywhere and you won't get yourself in a situation where you're pigeonholed behind people. Like, let's say you're trying out for a team and there's 2 point guard guys ahead of you, and maybe you could have slipped in and played the 2 or the 3, but you haven't worked on having those all around skills, and so you can't pull your weight on those places. But if you have the all around skills, maybe you can step in and play there. Or if you're a point guard that can play in the post, you're going to take advantage of teams because their other point guard is not going to be able to play against you because you'll take them into the post. And same thing with the post player. If you're able to step out on the perimeter, you're going to spread out the offense, and you're going to also make sure that that guy has to really kind of play off of you, and you can make that shot and you can drive the ball or whatever it is. Yeah. So go in as a basketball player. That is super important.
Yeah. And good luck to all of you in this, because it's kind of trying sometimes because you're so much want to make it. Sometimes you don't. I know how that feels because as a young guy, I didn't make a team for about the first 3 years I tried out. Yeah. And so just keep after it.
And here's the thing too. If you get cut, no big deal. Yeah. There's next year or another team, and that's all good. And that should motivate you. It should not make you pouty or discouraged. Yeah. Another thing is that make sure that the coach knows who you are before you go into tryouts. Yep. One of the worst things you can do is show up on day one and the coach is like, who's this? I don't know who this guy is, whatever. Yeah. Because coaches, they're going to have favorites. They're going to have guys that they've worked with or girls that they've been working with for a long time. They might be family friends of those other players. They might be, family of those other players, whatever it is. That's tough luck for you. Yeah. But you can kind of minimize those issues if you're the guy that's in the gym over the summer, or if you are working with the coach or you go meet the coach. That can really go a long way, because then they have a personal connection with you, and it's not so much like they see you and they're just evaluating you on these skills that you might show on one day out of the 365 that we have.
Yeah, very true.
So I saw some comments going through earlier that were kind of talking about, the coach is family friends with the so-and-so, or the coach is this kid's dad or whatever. Tough. You don't get to pick the coach. Yeah. You have to kind of figure out a way to make your case for yourself.
Yeah, that's really the truth. And one of the things that I think is really important for players to do is if you don't make the team, go to the coach and ask them if they will tell you why you didn't make the team, so you'll have some sense of what you need to work on. Yeah. And don't go there in a situation where you're being very challenging, because coaches don't like that. People don't like that. But instead, coach, I know I didn't make the team, and I want to come back and try and make it next time. And can you please give me a list of several things that you think that I can work on that will help me as I develop my game, because I want to play. Okay, rather than going in, I think you made a real big mistake on this one because I'm better than that guy and that guy and that guy over there. Coaches do not want to hear that. And so the thing that you want to do is go in and make sure that you ask them, what can I do? I know the tryouts are over and I didn't make it, but what can I do to get better? And they'll tell you.
Okay, and we're going to stop this chat on this last thing that I think is super important. There are other things to consider, but I will tell you another resource you can look at too. But the last thing I will tell you is that somebody here is asking, or SKM Gaming HD is asking, how can we outshine others? We just told you how.
Yeah.
These are all, most of these things that we talked about today are things that you don't need any kind of development into to make happen when you step out on the court. So it's not like you have to come out there and have a jump shot that you've worked on for 6 months, or your dribbling skills to where they're above everybody else. If you want to outshine everybody, it's easy. All you have to do is work hard, show initiative, show effort, be a leader, and do all of those things.
And work on your skills, all of them.
But okay, but that's not part of this right now. Yeah. But if you want to outshine people, those are the ways that you do it in the short term, and if you're kind of in the same pack in terms of skills. Of course, skills and execution are a huge part of tryouts, and if you make the team. But this other element is something that you can switch on without much effort at all.
Yeah.
And it's going to make all the difference. And you can also supersede some of the problems if your skills aren't maybe necessarily where they need to be, if you have that other kind of package going on. Okay, so we're going to chop it off right there. Of course, there's many other things that are important. I would tell you to go watch our video series on making the team. I think it's called Make the Team, and we have a playlist of stuff where we tell you what our thoughts are on making the team. And then we also have Coach Casey Hill from the NBA Development League Warriors, the Santa Cruz Warriors. He comes in and he tells you kind of his thoughts on making the team, and shows you some tryouts from the Golden State Warriors and the Santa Cruz Warriors, with him being the coach. So go check that out. And now we're going to jump into our Q&A portion of the show. So we're going to start answering your guys' questions. If you have questions, send them to us here in the chat, or you can tweet them at us. We are at Shot Science, and we'll try to get to as many people as possible, but you know how that goes. Let's see. This one is from Alp Diallo, who says, how do you deal with ball hogs?
Well, I've been watching the messages come in, and that is being repeated over and over and over and over by a lot of different people. When you play with ball hogs, one of the things that you have to understand is that the person who is responsible for that happening or not happening is your coach. They're responsible for that. And the ball hogs, if they are creating a problem for other players on the team, especially if they're capable players and not touching the ball, they should deal with that. Personally, it's really hard for you to do.
Well,
hang on a second. You might, during a timeout, speak to somebody and say, listen, I'm open, get me the basketball. And they probably will ignore you more after that. And so you need some help there, and the help needs to come from your coach.
Here is what I think is the best way to approach this, and I know you will agree, is make the case against that guy that is being the ball hog, and you do that by creating space, creating opportunities, and making yourself open, creating opportunities for your teammates. And if that guy is ball hogging and he's not giving it to the best opportunity, it's going to be very clear to the coach that guy is not playing his part in the team.
Right.
So if you're getting open and you're wide open and he's not getting you the ball, that's a problem. Yeah. If you're setting up your teammate, they're getting wide open, he's not giving them the ball, that's a huge problem. So that's how you really make the case. If you're coming to the coach, though, and you're saying, oh, well, Tom isn't passing me the ball, and the coach is going to be like, well, stop whining. I don't care. Because if the coach isn't seeing it at that moment, then it's not what he's looking for in terms of his coaching or whatever, right?
Yep.
So, that's like you trying to out-coach the coach. That's not a good approach. Make your case clear that guy is not passing the ball to the best opportunity.
Right.
All right. This person, D the King, is asking how to be a better point guard. Like we said earlier, forget about the labels of positions in basketball. Number one, those are becoming less and less important as the years go by, because everybody's playing everything.
Yep.
Number two is that the more versatile you are as an all-around player, the more likely it is that you will find your place on the team, and you will also find your place playing a position on the team. And it may be the difference between you actually being like a player that gets to play a lot of time and as a starter, as a player that comes in at the last few seconds of a quarter or something.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you are let's say you're more of a perimeter type player, if you're able to go in and play in the post and pull that defender down at the post and be able to post him up, but also play on the perimeter as well, That's going to make you way more valuable as a point guard. That the coach would decide is my point guard. Being able to pass the ball and shoot. I mean, just doing everything. That's how you become a better player all around. The same thing is true with the post player. You should be able to play out on the perimeter. I mean, it's so easy, but people get so stuck in these positions and everything. It's like, well, I'm a point guard and I know it. Well, the coach might not agree with you.
Well, the same thing is true if you I'm a small forward. I am a this. I am a that. The thing that's real important here is that, like Casey is saying, that basketball is a very fluid sport, and where you might find yourself starting off in what we call the shooting guard position, which can be on either side of the floor. And I've seen youngsters who were playing and they called themselves shooting guards, and they couldn't hit a shot if they were standing on top of the basket. And so that whole thing doesn't work. What you need to do is, like Casey is talking about, is develop your skills first as a basketball player. Every basketball player has to be able to dribble a basketball effectively. Every player needs to be able to shoot the ball effectively. Every player needs to be able to defend effectively, and so that list goes on and on.
Make free throws.
And so that's the things that are key as far as playing point guard or any other position. Now, we could spend probably half an hour talking about all the different things that are really focused down on being a really good point guard. But first of all, be a really good basketball player first.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you can look at players and, like, let's go all the way to the top in the NBA, where you got someone like Kevin Durant, who is almost 7 feet tall if he isn't already. But he's able to play the perimeter, but he's also able to go inside a little bit. But he is extremely versatile. Anthony Davis, both of those guys. If they, Anthony Davis, he was a shorter guy when he was in high school, and then he suddenly grew, and he was able to use the skills that he learned as a shorter guy on the perimeter to be able to play outside instead of just being stuck inside. Where if he was just a post player, he would not be the force that he is right now.
Right.
Same thing with Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant had to play in the post only, he might not even be in the NBA because he's not the kind of build of those guys.
Right.
But he's able to play all the positions because of his skill level. And, the same thing is true with like someone like Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, he's got such versatile skills. He can shoot from the mid-range. He can go in the post. He can put the ball on the floor a little bit. He can make the free throws. I mean, people like that, they are the ones that really rise to the top. So forget these labels. They're the worst thing for you, especially as a young player. This one is from Julius Wilson, who says, how to stop getting nervous when you're shooting in someone's face. Well, I have one thing to say first.
Go ahead.
Is that if you're taking a shot and somebody is in your face, that's probably not a good shot.
You didn't have a shot anyway. That's the biggest problem that I see with young players, is that they don't know the difference of when they have a shot and when they don't. And one of the things, we have a video on this that would be helpful to take and go and review and see what the thoughts are on it. And they're pretty typical in basketball. First of all is, have I got a shot? And that determination is made by where you are, okay? And it's made also based upon where is the defender, what's going on, and what about other of my teammates? First thing that we talk about when we're talking about whether you've got a shot or not is this a shot that you could make if you took it?
Yeah, is it a good opportunity?
And am I open? And open means that there's not somebody contesting the ball right in my face. And then the other thing that's real important, does somebody else on my team have a better look that I could get the basketball to? I see this oftentimes when people are asking us questions. They want to know, well, how can I shoot quicker? And to get the shot off. Well, if you're having to do anything like that, then you don't have a shot anyway. And you need to move the ball or either with a dribble or a pass to improve the situation.
So that's the key, is that you need to learn to create space.
Yep.
And you can do that before you even catch the ball by moving without the ball, and you can check out our videos on that. And you can also do that off the dribble. I mean, there's so many ways to create space. Right. But that is really the kind of shots you should be taking. If you're taking contested shots, your percentages will fall off precipitously as that is becoming more contested.
Yeah.
So you should be taking shots that are not contested. You want to take open shots.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're getting nervous is because you know it's a contested shot, and you know that the percentage is going to be lower.
Yeah.
So we say, why even take that shot?
Exactly right.
Maybe that's a situation where maybe you didn't create space and you should learn how to do that. Or B, if that guy's going to be there and he's going to contest a shot anyway, give him a pump fake and go right by him, and you will have a better look.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's that easy. You shouldn't be taking contested shots. Right. Okay, let's go to another question here. Whoops. Scat team _ DJR asks, will jump souls help me jump higher? We are not big fans of any of those kind of gimmicky things like that.
Yeah.
We think that it's kind of people see those as an easy way of making things work. The fact of the matter is that is not really helping you in your actual kind of biomechanical movement patterns. It's not going to really translate specifically or functionally to basketball. So we're not the biggest fans of those. We're not going to, get into, that very deeply, but we put together our own vertical jump series that we think is good for people that are on the younger side. And it's also very comprehensive, and it helps you kind of build up from the foundation, and it will give you an all-around athleticism instead of just working on this one specific thing that could potentially damage you as like a young person that's trying to do these things without any trainer or help. So go check out our vertical jump series. We talk about why we think it's a good idea. We also have the vertical jump handbook that you can download too. So just go check out that. I mean, we're not going to discount these other things, but we're not the biggest fans of that stuff. Yeah. Let's see.
That one right there.
This
Douglas.
one?
Douglas.
Where?
Next, the one down below. Douglas Watkins.
I don't see where that is. Right there?
No.
Any right there?
No.
All right. Well, let's do somebody else. This one is from SXS or
Spectrum.
SX Spectrum, who says, how to not look sluggish when doing moves. Well, I think a lot of that comes down to your footwork.
Yep.
And you have to put in the time to really develop your footwork before you get to these points of execution. So, working through the 3 pillars of practice on your footwork is really going to help. You can do things like ladder drills, dot drills, jump rope, working on things like jab step. There's a ton of things that you can do. But if you're looking sluggish, you probably are sluggish, so you probably have to just put the work in to do it.
That's really the truth. But, one of the things that Casey mentioned here just a moment ago that I wanted to kind of address, and that is the fact that footwork is probably the most important thing that you do in basketball.
Athletics.
Yes, and athletics in general. And that is yet one of the weakest points that we see in players that we are training. And you have to have footwork that fits in different situations of the game. For example, when we are doing our defensive slides, trying to stay in front of an offensive player who's dribbling the basketball, there's a certain footwork that will help you to do that. When you're getting ready to shoot a shot, there is an effective way to use your feet to get into that so you're on balance, stable, and ready to shoot. So one of the things that we always talk about is that you have to have control of your feet, and they have to be contributing to the success of the movement that you're trying to generate. And if it isn't, then you're not going to be very successful. And so, like I said, I think probably footwork in general is one of the things that most players are the weakest at in the game of basketball, even weaker than their weak hand. And so when we're training somebody, we talk about, first of all, how to shoot the basketball. Then we talk about how to use your feet when you're shooting the basketball.
I mean, footwork and just your feet in general are kind of the foundation of everything.
Absolutely.
And if you guys ever watch like anything about football or football practice, I mean, football, they are all about footwork.
Yep.
And for some reason, that's not necessarily always true in basketball, but it's the same thing. Like,
exactly.
And being in an athletic stance and being able to use your feet in a proper way. I mean, there's proper footwork, or let's say optimal footwork for a layup. There's optimal footwork for shooting. There's optimal footwork for defense. So if you guys aren't working on that stuff, then what are your feet even doing? I mean, if your feet are not doing the things that are going to be optimized, then the rest of the stuff is kind of doesn't really matter because you're going to be behind.
Right. Now, one of the things, just in the way of definition, is this. Good footwork is not something that you can call on unless you have spent time learning how to do it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when not many people really teach too much about footwork, maybe you don't learn exactly how it is that you need to do that. So you need to do some investigation. Find somebody you trust that are talking about how to use your feet, and then try to develop your footwork around that.
And slow it way down.
Slow down, yeah.
Too many people try to get it at game speed execution right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And that is not how you should really approach any of your training.
Yeah.
You should par everything way down so that it's almost in slow motion. And you have to work on building up that muscle memory. And as you do that, progress it up as you master it.
Right.
And eventually you'll get to the point where you're at game speed execution and you'll have the proper footwork and it will happen every time. But if you try to force it, that's never really going to come through for you.
Right.
Okay, so you said, which one did I hear? This
right
one?
there, Douglas.
Douglas Watkins asked, how to increase hang time for guarded layups.
Okay.
Hang time, number one, is a myth.
Well, that's going to be what I'm going to kind of run to there. You know, you see and hear people talk about people having hang time. That is a physical impossibility. You do not ever get up and hang. It's not possible because gravity grabs you by the legs and jerks you right back to the earth right away. As soon as you reach the maximum height that you can jump, you're on your way back down again just because of gravity. So there is no such thing as hang time. It may appear that way, but usually the appearance is that person has really explosive vertical ability, and it just looks like they're hanging, but you can't. It's not possible. Impossible.
No, that would be against the
there were several people who asked that too, so that's why I mentioned.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that in terms of guarded layups, I mean that's one of those things where you shouldn't be trying to out jump anybody anyways, and even if you could hang in the air longer, that doesn't really help you all that much. No, the thing is that with layups, you have to get some experience with this first because there's different ways to handle it. But one is that you should always be using your body to kind of situate it between the defender and the ball.
Yep.
That way, if they try to go for the ball, they're going to end up fouling you if they reach across or they make contact or whatever. But if you hold it out in front, and it's like they'll just come in and knock that out because that's obvious and easy. But if you are using your body as kind of a way to guard against the defense reaching across and blocking it, then you will be in much better shape. The other thing is that if you're running down the court on a fast break or whatever, and you know that guy's going to jump, then you can make a jump stop, pump fake that guy, or maybe sometimes even the jump stop is enough. Well, they'll go sailing by. But if you jump stop, pump fake, get him up in the air, and then go up for a layup, sometimes you will get a really easy shot just doing that.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be like this joust in the air.
Yeah.
You have to be smart about this and have some options. But if you're just trying to out jump the guy, that's not really the best thing unless you've developed that as part of your athleticism. Yeah. There obviously the other thing is that there is no quick fix to having an increased vertical or anything either. Okay, so let's move on. This one is from Daquan Tanny, who says, "Hey, Shot Science, for 5 months, the gyms in my area have been occupied by programs such as other sports and events. How can it be possible for me to improve on my game?" Well, we talk about this every once in a while.
Yeah. We do.
And we call it something that is kind of something you should live by in life, but to be successful, you have to make it happen, and make it happen is kind of the key here. So these gyms are being occupied. Tough. You have to figure it out. You have to find another place to work out at. It might be a playground. It might be another gym. It might be a YMCA. It might be your friend's house. Maybe you can ask your parents if there's some way that you could possibly get a basketball hoop, or you could look on Craigslist and find a really old one that's really affordable, or you could get together with some of your buddies and maybe you could pool your money and get a basketball hoop. I don't know. There's a ton of ways that you can make it happen. Maybe if it's the winter time and you can't go outside because it's super cold, maybe you could get some work in the garage. I don't know. we can't give you the golden ticket on this stuff, but we will just tell you, you have to maybe be creative, maybe figure out some way to just make it happen. And we wish that we could tell you, oh, just go to this gym and tell them that you are more important than everybody else. But that doesn't really work. And so the thing about it is that you have to really make it happen. And you look at all these guys in the NBA, most of them didn't really come up in maybe the most affluent households or households that had, kind of economic stability where they could be able to go and work out at a gym. A lot of them worked out on the playgrounds and in the street. And that's, those are the kind of the ultimate make it happen guys, is that they didn't take no for an answer, and they figured out some way to make it happen. You could also go talk to your coach maybe and say, hey, we want to work on our skills over the summer or over the Christmas break or whatever it is, and just try to get some time doing that.
Yeah, this kind of comes to one of the things that we chuckle about a whole lot, and we call it FIO. And Casey just used this term a while ago, just figure it out. And you have to figure it out, or FIO, and so it fits what you want to get done. And nobody else can really do that for you.
Yeah. You call it FIO, I call it make it happen. I mean, that's one of those things. It really is. The people that are successful people are the ones that they're self-starters, and they know how to make it happen themselves.
Exactly. Or
they figure out how to make it themselves. So like I said, there's all these options. They might not be the option that you're hoping for, but that's life, and that's the way it works out. But you can figure it out. Okay, let's kind of lightning round some of this, because we got tons of stuff coming through. So we're gonna have shorter answers to your questions, we hope. Let's see. This one is from Eugene Lee, who says, "How to play better when you are slower and shorter."
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, number one, forget about those things, because if you're sitting there thinking about how disadvantaged you are, then your victimization is going to limit your success. So what you need to do is realize that you have advantages that maybe some other players don't have, and you need to work towards your strengths. So maybe you're shorter than all these other guys. That's great, because you're going to come in, maybe you're going to be more agile or something, or maybe you're going to be able to be a little bit more quick, or you can use those guys, their mentality of being taller against them, where they think they're going to block every shot that you take because they're taller and they should be able to. So give them a shot fake and go by them, and they're going to jump because they knew they were going to block you, and you're going to be by them already. If you're slower, maybe that's something you could work on in the off season or something like that, and work on your footwork, work on your foot speed, work on your functional conditioning and your interval training. I mean, there's tons of ways to get around that, but the worst thing you can do is feel sorry for yourself, and let your perceived disadvantages work against you. So work towards your advantages.
Exactly. Oftentimes you'd be surprised what you can do by having really good footwork.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's see. This one is from J-Dad Neves, who says, "How to still make a layup through a rough drive, also draw a foul." Well, I know this is something that you coin and like to use is focus on the finish. The key here is that the number one imperative of a layup is to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
Because you can't be sure of what that other guy is going to do. You're not going to be sure if he's going to challenge your shot. You're not going to be sure if he's going to foul you. You're not going to be sure if he's going to bump you and not get the call. You have no idea. So you have to focus on the finish and putting the ball in the basket. And you can do these other things, like making sure that your body is positioned between that person and the basket and the ball, so that you can draw the foul. But focusing on the finish is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that you got to be aware that contact is gonna happen, and you got to be okay with it.
Yeah, and what's going to happen too in that situation is oftentimes officials are going to make those calls. You live with that, and you learn how to take that contact and still deliver the ball to the basket. One of the things that Casey was kind of alluding here to, and I'll just take a moment on it, and that is focus on the finish. I see too many players who get to the basket, they're being pressured, and they're trying some hokey shot to get it around or up and over the defender. Biggest mistake in the world. Those are what we call hope shots. I hope they go in, and usually they don't.
Yeah, those are bailouts.
Yeah, they're bailouts, and you're bailing the other team out, not yourself.
Yeah.
What you want to do when you get to the basket is you want to go with your strongest move to the basket. If they foul or if they block the shot, oh well. And oftentimes what happens is they get a call against them because they got body into you, they got on the hand. And so I would say focus on the finish, and that's probably going to be best for you.
And like we said earlier, one of the other things that you can do is come in, jump stop, and do a shot fake.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll just go flying by, or maybe they'll run right into you, but just make sure that you're focusing on the finish. No circus shots, solid shots, focusing on the finish.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Yes, finish at the basket. That's what we mean.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is from Jawad Yazdani, who asks, what stretches to do before basketball? There's so many ways to approach this, but we would say go check out our dynamic stretches in our vertical jump videos, and you will see that that kind of dynamic stretches are better than static stretches, simply because you're not just stretching cold muscles.
Yeah.
So go check out the dynamic stretches and the vertical jump videos. Let's see. This one is from Peyton Taylor, who says, how to shoot straight.
Well, okay. We could spend a half an hour on this, but I'm just going to take and tell you real quick what usually the problem is. When we release the basketball to the basket, these two fingers right here have to come off the ball, and they're going directly toward the middle of the basket. That's really important. Shots that go right and left usually are ones where the offhand has the thumb flipping through the ball and causes sideways rotation, and will push it right or will push it left. And how you deal with that is, as you're ready to release, that hand comes off the basketball as you finish. That's how you get them to be straighter.
Yeah, and finish towards directly to your target, which is the basket.
Exactly.
If you're finishing off to one side or the other, that's where the ball is going to go. So that's really how you shoot straight. Let's see here. This one is from Samuel Andre Antenor, who says, how to make a shot even when you have perfect form. Well, if your form is perfect, then something else must be going on.
Yeah, your percentages will probably be pretty good if your form is perfect.
I would say maybe start working on the form shooting drill, start out really close, and really work on mastering those close in spots, and then progress back as you go.
Yeah. The other thing I think probably would be good is that video yourself. Take an iPhone or an iPad or something like that and video yourself so that you can see what you do. And then kind of compare to that, and is this really perfect form? Because it may not be perfect. You may think it is, but it may not be, in which case will be a difficulty for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Let's see. This one is Bo Kid is asking, how do I make a shot under pressure? We already talked about that. Yeah. So go check out the recording of this later. Official VSS, how to not get intimidated.
I think intimidation probably is something that you allow to happen because you are threatened by somebody else, maybe by their size, maybe what they're saying to you, contact and things like that. The most important thing is let that just go over the top of your head. Don't play into somebody else's intimidation of you or what they see as intimidation of you. As soon as you respond or you seem to be timid, that's when they will begin to assert themselves even more.
Right. It's really about feeling like a victim again. That's the thing, is that you have to have confidence in yourself, and some of the confidence comes from developing your skills before you are actually playing in games and stuff like that. But some of it is just not playing the victim. You get so sick of hearing that crap.
Yeah, truly.
Get over it is one thing that we like to say. That's the truth. If you're going to feel sorry for yourself, that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is from Rusty RC Show, who says, how can I catch a fast pass? Well, it depends on kind of what you're inferring about it, I guess. But, one of the things about playing basketball is that you have to learn how to have soft hands. And when you catch a ball, you're catching it not with your palms, but you're catching it with your finger pads and fingertips. And you're giving with the ball as you catch it. If you are just catching it palm to ball, that's not going to give you very good control of it. So let me grab this ball real quick. So if you're trying to catch the ball, let's see, like this, I mean, you have no control over it. But if you're trying to catch it and you have your finger pads, that's going to give you much more control over where the ball is. And, if you give a little bit too, that's going to make it easier to catch a faster pass.
Yeah.
Right?
And if that's a problem for you, spend a lot of time having people throw you the basketball. I mean, that's just simple. And learn how to cushion the ball and keep it on the finger pads.
Okay, Julian Ray is asking how to shoot better with your weak hand. Okay. We have strong opinions on this. One of them is that once you step away from about 5 or 6 feet from the basket, you should not worry about being able to shoot with your weak hand. For some reason, people believe that if they could shoot with their other hand, it's going to make them a better player, more versatile. The fact of the matter is that it's not, because if you're trying to take shots where, and this is pulled back from the basket outside of like 5 or 6 feet, right. If you're trying to make shots where it's going to be a better shot if you shoot it with your other hand than your strong hand, then that's probably because it's contested and it's probably not a good shot. And you should have worked harder to create space on that shot. Yeah. Or you should create a new opportunity and create space for a different opportunity. So I mean, you have to kind of work around that. And if you think about it like this, would you rather be a great shooter with your strong hand or an okay shooter with both hands? Yeah. I mean, the obvious answer is you want to be a great shooter with one hand and then develop your ability to create space in the time that maybe you would spend working on your other hand.
Right. We don't really spend much time at all with anybody with their weak hand unless they're playing close. They're playing with their back to the basket.
You're talking about shooting, though.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you weren't saying that and people heard that as, oh, you don't need to have your weak hand for layups or dribbling.
No, I don't mean that at all. I'm talking about if you're playing with your back to the basket, then I think it's good to be able to use either hand. And so we'll do that. But other than that, facing the basket, other than lay-ins, work on your strong hand. That's way more important.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is from Benjamin Langbin, who says how to play lockdown D without fouling. Footwork.
Footwork is the key, and just hard work.
So
and the second thing is this, to keep you from fouling, don't reach in.
Yeah.
The biggest problem that players have is they want to take and go in and get the basketball, get their hand on the ball, get the steal. Well, the thing that's really important there is that usually what you do when you start reaching, you have a tendency to slap the hand, slap the arm, and you get called for that. And you actually, we feel that it's way more beneficial for you to play defense with your feet. And if you're going to have your hands in the mix, that they're coming up from the underneath side, they're not coming down on the basketball. And officials, I can't think of any time I can remember where if you're reaching from the underneath side, trying to flip the ball up,
popping, yeah.
Yeah, where you get any kind of contact, where they call it. They just don't seem to do that at all.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that most steals, if you're trying to get steals and be kind of defensive player, are not from reaching in and popping the ball out and taking it from the guy like that. Most steals come from passes that are intercepted. And the way that you do that is through anticipation and playing off the ball in the proper spot. But they don't, because you would get called for reaching way too often if you were trying to just take the ball from the guy. So, I mean, if you watch a game in the NBA, you'll see that most steals come off of intercepted passes or deflected passes than they do from actual popping the ball off the guy. So reaching in with your hands, it's a risk, and the payoff is not that great. But when you're coming down to defense as well, I will say that footwork is the key, and one of the keys to the footwork is beating the guy to the spot. So if he's attacking you off the dribble, beat him to the spot that you think he's going to be going to, because you stop the advance of the ball and you put yourself in control over him being in control, which is kind of the key to basketball on both ends of the floor. Is you get in control so that you're not reacting to that guy, they are reacting to you.
Yeah, and another thing that kind of plays into that too is that everybody gets beat. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody on the floor or the face of the earth who hasn't been beat before off the dribble. The thing that you remember, though, is this, is that if you're beaten, that's when it's time to turn and sprint to a location where you can reestablish your defense, if that's at all possible. But if it isn't possible, you're running right alongside of that guy with the basketball, and it's going to be hard for him to deliver a shot if you're right there with him. And so that's key.
And you have
if you get beat, you run to recover.
And you have teammates that should be helping out on help defense
absolutely.
anyways. I mean, that's another one of those victimization things. Get over it. That's fine. There's safety measures in place.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do 2 quick questions, and we'll be out of here. But this one is from Michael Timzenko, who says, does gear like compression underwear and compression sleeves help your game? The answer to that is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And, you know, the thing about it is that surrounding basketball and a lot of sports, there's a lot of gimmicky stuff out there that is really just kind of marketing. The thing is that if you like that stuff and you think it looks cool or whatever it is, it makes you feel more confident, then go for it. Yeah. But it is not going to make you a better shooter. It's not going to make you a better athlete. You know, maybe some upside of some of that stuff is that it will help you keep your muscles warm or something like that. Yeah. It might protect you a little bit if you actually get on the floor and dive for it. But the real answer is you don't need it. And your best, you know, if you want to get better, you should put the effort in yourself. Yeah. Really.
Yeah.
But we're not saying they're bad. If that's what you like, then go for it. Somebody's asking how they can get a girlfriend. Can't help you there. Let's see. This will be the last question. This one is from, well, actually, there's a lot of people that are asking how to improve your weak hands. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about layups, if you're talking about dribbling, whatever, working in the post close to the basket. That all comes from repetitions and very purposeful practice and effort. There's no way around it. It's going to feel wonkier than your strong side, but you have to put more effort into developing that offside to bring it up to the level of your strong side. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. And you will do it if you slow everything down and work up progressively to it. Last question, though, that we're going to do is from Chaboy, who says, how to be more confident in scoring instead of passing off all the time.
Well, you develop that confidence in shooting by spending a lot of time on developing your shot, and then working on developing that shot when you're being contested at game speed. That's all a real important part of it. As you begin to get all of that together, your confidence will grow as far as what you can do on that shot. So confidence really has to do with developing the skill of shooting to a point where you feel a certain level of confidence, and then take it to the court and shoot.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have confidence in your skills to have confidence in your execution. So you have to put in the work to have that stuff all be there. Yeah. The other thing, too, is that you have to mentally have the switch where you're not going to be the guy that passes the ball all the time. Yeah. You know, we can't come over there and sit on your shoulder and say, okay, don't pass this time, shoot it. Yeah. We can't do that. That has to be you. And you've identified the problem, so address the solution and actually do it. And that's really the only way around it. It's a mentality change that you have to have. Right? Okay, so I think we're going to end it there, you guys. Thanks so much for joining us. I do want to say that we got a response from Jay DeBoss on Instagram that said that we answered his question here on the chat, and he was excited about that. So thanks for doing that. If you guys want to follow us on all of our social media stuff like Instagram or Twitter or Google Plus or Snapchat or whatever, follow us. We are Shot Science and everything. So make sure you follow us on that stuff. And that's how you get a hold of us during the week while we're not doing the live shows, is that you can really just reach out to us on those places, and we'll try our best to get back to you there. You know, we're on Facebook. We're doing lots of cool stuff, featuring a lot of you guys in videos and things. And also on Snapchat, we're doing some behind-the-scenes stuff. So check us out there. We will have a new topic next week, and we will see you guys then. Right? Yeah.
Great, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks. How do we turn it off?